Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa min walah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are continuing, inshallah, to recite this work, Contemplating the Quran, by Shaykh Asim Yusuf, and we've reached part 9, and the 9th juz of the Quran, covering chapters Al-A'raf and Al-Anfal. And the theme of this juz is the duty of prophets is spiritual reformation. The reformation of the human soul, by both protecting it from the devils among men and jinn, and explaining the pitfalls of the lower desires, is a singularly important duty with which God has charged the prophets and reformers in every generation. The lives of the righteous are full of unexpected happenstance. However, these occurrences are brimming with lessons and morals. In every twist and turn of their lives one finds wisdom. This part discusses the most important of responsibilities and elucidates some of the experiences and their morals. This so as to aid future generations of reformers, that they might find inspiration in the trials of those who came before. Most of the part revolves around the story of Moses, focusing on his efforts to reform the children of Israel, rather than his confrontation with the Pharaoh, this being a story replete with benefits and full of wisdom. The part begins with a general lesson for the people of every age, that they hasten to set their souls aright and to steer clear of the ways of arrogance and corruption, demonstrating that this is the ideal path in order that the blessings of heaven might open up for them, and for the goodness of the earth to pour forth, that they might live in peace, secure from the punishment of the God who loves not corruption. That's Surah Al-A'raf, verses 96 to 100. The verses go on to describe the encounter between Moses and that embodiment of human devilry, Pharaoh, specifically the latter's accusing him of sorcery when he brought forth miracles. This, after Pharaoh had refused to pay heed to the voice of logic and reason. Thereafter, it describes his going hither and thither in his arrogance, by seeking out and gathering sorcerers from every land to oppose Moses. And that's verses 103 to 120. Then it is explained how the same magicians who had originally been procured to confront Moses themselves accepted faith. It is then recounted how Moses began the long walk to freeing the children of Israel from the shackles of servitude, specifically documenting the 9 signs sent to warn of Pharaoh, and of how he refused to listen or yield, with the result that God destroyed him utterly. The verses then move on to teach us that the exodus of the children of Israel from Egypt was the beginning of a long process of practical spiritual education, or tarbiyah, for souls that had been despoiled by slavery and neglect for many years. This process exposed harmful attributes that had become firmly rooted in such hearts, to which no call to rectification had come for successive generations. They had barely passed the Red Sea before they began demanding from Moses that he fashion for them an object of worship, similar to an idol that they had found being worshipped instead of God in some of the villages. It was as if their long habitation in Egypt and their witnessing of people worshipping idols day and night had corrupted their primordial natures. That's Surah 138, verse 138. No sooner had their prophet left them that he might receive revelation, that is, on Mount Sinai, that the Samaritan, a Samiri, misled them into fashioning a golden calf, which they worshipped instead of God. Thus, despite their prophet working for their reformation, they thoughtlessly rushed into error, desirous of that life they had left behind, falling out of the frying pan of some sins and into the fires of others. That's verse 148. It is thus revealed how they altered the words of Scripture, displayed ingratitude for the blessings of God, and how some of them transgressed the Sabbath, treating the law of the Torah as a plaything in their hands, renouncing it in pursuit of cheap, lowly desires of this world. We are also informed of another group who were rebellious, and individuals among them who transgressed, such as Bil'am ibn Ba'ura, who Moses sent to preach to the ruler of Midian, but who was offered a bribe by him. He accepted it, misguided people, and changed his principles, betraying the message with which he was sent. The chapter concludes with a call to monotheists to devote their worship solely to God, who alone brings harm and benefit, and to whom all affairs ultimately return, whether manifest or hidden, and to distance themselves from the ways of temptation, and heedlessness. Inasmuch as it is wealth that corrupts the soul and impedes the journey of those who seek reform, the opening verses of chapter Al-Anfal, or Surah Al-Anfal, inform companies of the righteous, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and those who came after them, who were charged with the guidance of mankind, of the importance of abandoning dispute over the spoils of war, and to set aside worldly covetousness. This is the first verse. They are reminded of the favours of God when He answered their cries, straightened them, and made them firm in their footsteps, and gave them victory when they were weak and few. For wealth is a means, not an end. For do not some place it in the service of hindering people from the path of God? Thus there is no good in wealth that is not used to assist in righteousness and rectification. And those are the first few verses of Surah Al-Anfal, Surah Al-Anfal, verses 1 to 36. Inshallah, we'll see you again next week. I should say tomorrow, for the next section. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم.